Hello everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at the 14th in the Painting War series from Miniaturama Publications as Ruben Torregrossa takes on the British and Commonwealth armies of World War II. Okay, so Painting War, British and Commonwealth armies by Ruben Torregrossa. Almost undoubtedly not how that is pronounced. Sorry, Ruben. This is issue 14. They have covered a variety of periods prior to this. In fact, I think there's a little page there showing you some of the others. So from ancients, Napoleonics through to World War II, and even some ones on specific things like basing. So a ever-expanding collection of painting material. If I flick through here, you can see we have your contents, presentation, who Ruben is, general painting guide, step-by-step, skin and hair, fabric, texture, headgear, weaponry, bases, speed painting, and then the painting guides itself. So the book is, he said, flicking to the end, 87 pages. The first 55 is your prep and your painting, and then the last 30 or so are individual regimental painting guides, if that makes sense. And it is a very comprehensive book. I will skip the initial intro from Ruben. Sorry, Ruben. But he does give you some general painting tips for different techniques like washing, stippling, dry brushing. There's also a bit about how highlights should be applied and colour theory and painting wheel. So right off the bat, your first 10, 12 pages are standard painting techniques and tips that you should know or will learn in here. After that, we get into a step-by-step guide on miniatures itself. So assembly and cleaning, which gets awfully cut out these days. I see an awful lot of mold lines. It upsets me. I'm glad that somebody is going back to basics. I know some people go, oh, I don't like metal because of the clean up. You have to clean up plastic as well, which seems to be lost on a lot of people these days, and they don't really mind a big seam line somewhere. I'd much prefer that it explains how you clean up a metal model. Plastic is exactly the same, just put less pressure on the file. After that, you get a step-by-step guide on painting this delightful fellow here, who looks like he's a chindit. So starting with the skin, working your way up through to get your final highlights, and then onto the equipment and the fabric. So there's a comprehensive guide on how you paint one figure, including finishing them off and varnishing, which is great. And then after that, it starts to break down other things. So different skin tones, Indian, African, different hair types. So blonde hair should not be yellow. Do not use pure yellow for your blondes. It will look like it's come out of some sort of weird dye bottle. And as you can see, Ruben uses intermediate mixes. A lot of the paints in here are Vallejo. I don't know if they are 100% Vallejo, but there are plenty of online conversion charts that you can use to change between these things. So without going through page by page, the initial setup gives you a really good idea of how to paint overall, how you do your skin tones, what the equipment is, things that will recur no matter what theatre you're in, or what their time of the year or what regiment it is. So the steel helms will be the same for everybody, the commando caps, the various weapons. So rather than going, here's how you paint a rifle 15 times, here's how you paint the equipment once, including things like the artillery pieces and support weapons. And then afterwards, you can use that depending on wherever you happen to be playing in. The basing, obviously, then you've got North Africa, you've got Europe, both summer and winter, so to speak. And then also urban, and a bit on pinning as well. So the initial painting, it's really broke down beautifully well to explain to somebody how a miniature is painted from start to finish. Then when you hit this part where it explains the speed painting, some things you can do to help push you along when you're painting an army, maybe steps that you may want to miss or change. And then we have the 27 painting guides, which will cover everything you need for the British and Commonwealth armies, from your standard rifleman and naval to civilians. If you're going to play Operation Sea Lion or some Eagle Has Landed sort of what ifs, that's a nice one which I wasn't expecting. Downed RAF pilot, Australians, native levies in Papua New Guinea, North Africa 8th Army. So the Desert Rats, Vickers and SAS. So a lot of these in here. And because the bulk of the painting has already been done in the first half of the book, these just tend to focus on the changes. So, for example, your Gurkha has a jungle green uniform. So the weaponry, the skin tones, everything else has already been covered by Ruben. So now it's just a case of how do you paint this uniform that's different? So you don't need to worry about going back through page by page for everything else. And then at the bottom of each page, there's a painting chart where it tells you what page the specific things are, like the rifle or like the flesh tone. So it's a really nice breakdown of how you paint, including things like the commando insignia. And it covers a wealth of the types of units that you will find throughout World War II with the British and Commonwealth armies, and more beside. So, you know, if you want your Ord Wingate, who was an absolute lunatic in Burma, the onion-eating, toothbrush-carrying man, then you can do that. You've got the Brigadier Lord Lovett and his piper, Bill Millen. So I believe he made him pipe them up the beaches at D-Day. And it also gives you a guide for painting tartan in here as well. It's a fantastic book. Other works by the author. The Warsaw Rising, Polish, from Jamie, are gorgeous. There's a painting guide for the kubus and a painting guide for the actual infantry on the infamous JT website. Just I'll throw that one in there since I see them. But if you are planning on doing British World War II, this is a one-stop shop that will show you everything you need. And like I say, it's number 14 in the range that covers ancients through to feudal Japanese to Napoleonics or American War of Independence. There's a lot of different topics already being covered. So it's not just World War II constantly. It does mean that you may have to wait for a specific army, nation that you're after. But otherwise, keep your eye for these painting war books because they are absolutely top notch. So there you have it. Not just a comprehensive guide for the British and Commonwealth armies as far as equipment, colour plates go, but so much more beyond that. If you are just getting into miniature gaming, the painting war books are great because of the just volume of information in them, and this one is no exception. So starting with the colour theory, going into skin tones for various nationalities, even the sections on basing, it's all in there. The first 3/4 of it is a solid painting guide for whatever you're painting, never mind specifically World War II Commonwealth forces. Obviously then you have that chunk at the end where it goes into specifics for various units, and then the things you need to look for there. Finding historical books, the likes of the Osprey series, or whatever, and the color plates is relatively easy. Finding somebody translating them into painting guides, not so much. So being able to go, I fancy playing Napoleonics, or I want to do World War II British, or I want to do a Commonwealth Burmese army with Indians and whoever else happened to be in that particular theatre. Having it all in one place is an absolute godsend. And even if you don't reach Ruben's level of painting, and not many of us could, but a lot of it comes down to practice and consistency, and having the basis all there in that book is just so easy to replicate, to copy. That, you know, here's how I'm going to do the skin, and just keep plugging away at it. Here's how the uniforms look for these particular regiments, plug away at that. It's all there, including things like the artillery and the guns, the support weapons. So as a one-stop shop for anybody planning on getting into World War II British forces, that's a no-brainer. You really should be picking that up, because it's not just Western Europe, it's North Africa, it's Asia, it's everywhere that the Commonwealth forces fought. And as such, it covers the whole gamut, from snowy fields to deserts to jungles, and all points in between. So yeah, it's not my first painting war guide. I have quite a few over there that you can't see. They're not always by the same artist either. So you get a good range of topics and styles, which is nice. Whenever you're painting, you may find that one particular painting style suits you better than another. And it might just be the case that something ignites that spark and helps you get there. But whatever way you choose to view it, it's a pretty essential tool, I think, for anybody getting into World War II. Definitely grab it if you see it. Let me know what you think below, folks. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.